Hi, I'm Warren Etheredge, host of The High Bar. I've known Lindsay Pulsipher for years, and I adore her. I mean, how can you not? Even if you don't know her, if you've just seen her, and you've seen her in lots of things. You may have seen her as the Were-Panther on True Blood. You may have seen her on Justified. You may have seen her in Hatfields and MCCOYS. She's been in a lot of stuff, but she is just enchanting. She has a warmth and energy that just delight me. And so I was thrilled when we were able to convince her to be a guest on The High Bar. So Tina Knoll, the High Bar's producer, she's the high-powered producer of this show. We got on a plane, we went down to L.A., and we snuck into the Beverly Hills Hotel, hope they're not listening, and we got a table at the Polo Lounge, and we brought Lindsay in, and we had a conversation about something that has always fascinated me. We talked about synesthesia. It's a condition that few people know of, and fewer still understand, and she's able to break it down in a way which finally made it clear in my head beyond Wikipedia and all the textbooks. So she's delightful. This conversation is adorable as she is. Enjoy. Yes.
I'll have a Bloody Mary, please. And can you add a little spice to that?
Sure.
And I'll have a Bloody Mary without adding the spice.
Subtracting anything that
Might hurt
approaching flavor for her. And I'll go with blueberry lavender fizz. I'm so excited to talk about this topic.
I know. I am so excited to listen and record it and then edit it.
And can I say before we get started?
Yes.
You know I already adore you. I already think I think you are so cool. It made you so much fucking cooler. It made you 10 times cooler to me. So it's a weird thing to say. So hopefully that's not offensive, but
No,
like 10
no.
times cool.
Yeah.
It's just because I have always been fascinated with synesthesia, and I've actually used it in writing classes. I try to get kids to do exercises to equate with synesthesia, but like you can't do it. Like it's hard for people.
Well, it's so funny trying to explain to somebody that doesn't think that way or doesn't have that, have synesthesia.
Right.
It just goes over their head. They don't even understand the concept because they don't process things that way. So
it takes me probably 30 to 45 minutes just to explain the concept for the exercise.
And even then they're like, huh?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Well, I guess I kind of do this, and I'm like, no, it's different. It is a different thing. But
there are many different types. But before we even get to that, in order to, the thing that fascinates me is that, if you're a kid who eventually gets glasses, you don't know that you need glasses until you get them, and then you go like, oh, damn,
yes.
That's the world, right? Like I thought everything was fuzzy, but it's actually, it's not.
Clear.
And so I'm assuming that your experience is like that too. You just assumed that's the way it is.
100%.
Yeah.
Because I have spatial synesthesia, which is, where you see things in patterns. You associate dates and times and calendar year in certain patterns, and that's every time I think about it, that's what I see. And I would try and ask people, so how do you see the days of the week? And they did not understand. So when I came to realize, which was probably much later in my life than it should have been.
How later are we talking?
I'm talking probably teenager, early 20s. I just assumed everybody did it. Yeah. Because my dad and my two sisters also are spatial synesthesists. And so when I discovered that,
So it wasn't unusual at home.
Exactly.
Okay.
No. In fact, we talked about it all the time. My dad loved to talk. His was, we're all in rolling hills, and, his was much more abstract, and mine's a little bit more constructed. But yeah, we talked about it at home, and I just assumed that was the norm.
Right.
And so when I discovered that not everybody does that, it kind of blew my mind, and then it made me realize I didn't know that there was an actual technical term for it either. I just thought that I had a weird brain.
Well,
I came from a weird family.
May still be true.
Yeah, well, that's up for debate.
But was there a moment that you recognized that outside, like when you were in teens or 20s, was there a moment when...
Well, it was, I think I hit a wall after trying to talk to people about it. Close friends and boyfriends or whatever, and nobody knew what I was talking about, and I guess it wasn't one particular moment. It was a culmination of conversations where I was like, I really am, nobody else does this. This is really strange. And then I just discovered that it had a technical name a few years ago. And then, then I got way deep I got really obsessed. I was like, other people actually have this way of thinking.
Right. So we'll get into lots of there are two, like we can separate synesthesia into two main categories. There's visual and associative,
right.
And you clearly have a visual version of it.
Yes.
So can you explain the visuals that you get with dates or times a little bit?
Yeah, so the best way for me to describe it is almost like Tetris. Like they all kind of fit together into this strange Tetris-like pattern. And in fact, last night I was trying to explain Logan, the guy that I'm dating right now, I was trying to explain to him how it is, and I actually drew it out for him on a piece of paper, and he was like, what? He didn't. He's like, that is so weird. I don't even know what you're talking about. And it's the same pattern every time, and it has been for as long as I can remember.
And is that for days of the week?
Yeah, so
okay.
So it happens, the calendar year is a big one. Breaking down the month inside that calendar year is a big one. The days of the week kind of go in a staircase. Years, starting way back to BC up into, present day. Alphabet is one, and it's always been the same since I was a kid.
If I gave you a particular date, do you associate something, like if we say August 12, 2014, does that come with a certain thing?
Yes, absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. And I have to say, moving to Los Angeles, it has hindered that a little bit because I used to be able to associate dates with seasons.
Right.
And now it's more of a straight line as opposed to, it used to be more of a rounded, 4-season pattern. But
I get it. There are fewer seasons here, so there's less visual association.
Right. And I'm actually fantastic with remembering dates and what surrounding, significant events especially. But even if, you were to say August 14th, 2014, I immediately go to a visual place in my head. And although that date specifically, doesn't resonate, that time period resonates. And I remember what I was doing at that time. And I have an amazing sense of memory and recall memory with dates.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm semi-jealous too, because I consider myself as someone who has a very good memory, but I have no sense of time whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like you could say, was it yesterday or 3 years ago? Like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
So I need that.
Yeah. This would be a very helpful tool for you. I mean, I can tell you exactly, like if somebody, and my dad did this too before he passed, my mom will ask me, oh man, I can't remember when that was. And I can literally give her almost to the date.
Yeah.
And year, when it happened. And I'm great with directions too. I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
What's intriguing there is that scientists really have not studied it that much, and so really don't know that much. But presumably your father has it and your siblings have it.
I have 2 sisters that have it.
But your mother does not.
My mom does
leading
not.
to a potential idea that it is genetic in some fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a very large family. I have 3 brothers. And to my knowledge, they don't. I tried to explain it to them, and they didn't get it. So I think it's just the 2 sisters.
They're also mad.
Yeah, and they're also men. They don't want to go there. My dad was a very sensitive, open guy. He was able to, talk about it. Yeah, I wonder if it is genetic.
Right.
I think that it has to be, because I feel, I've thought a lot about it too. Why particular people do it and why particular people don't. And I think that it has to be a switch in our brains that, when you're learning about the days of the week, or you're learning about time, or you're learning about dates, you have to have something to associate it with, so it makes sense in your brain. Like you have a visualization of it. And that's the only thing that I mean, there's no scientific reason for it.
Well, there is the idea with synesthesia of any variety that there's something in the wiring as a kid as you're taking on big concepts, like abstract concepts, that something in the wiring gets fused essentially differently rather than running separately in parallel.
Yeah.
So the rest of us are actually boring thinkers. You're ahead of us.
Yeah,
right?
maybe. I don't know about that.
The only other celebrity I could find with temporal synesthesia is Jeffrey Rush.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that makes me feel good. I feel like I'm
winner.
in good. Yeah, I feel like I'm in good company, because it is interesting. For a moment, I had a bit of panic where I thought, "Whoa, if I'm thinking so almost mathematically or in such tight patterns, does that make me less of an artist or a creative person because I'm so restricted in the way that I associate things?" I think that I can be both. I think I can be a creative person and have this very in the box kind of way of thinking. But
well, you're clearly a really creative and really talented person. So anybody who's seen you knows that. Come on.
I was fishing for that.
But what I will say is interesting. I read somewhere where you described an approach to acting which makes more sense now knowing that, where you talk about how, unlike some actors, you don't really immerse yourself in the character. You see the character at a distance. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Which feels, to me, I might be totally off base, somewhat like the synesthesia
That's exactly it. It's, I before I dive into a character, I will read the script and I read it as a book, and I kind of envision the character as another person. Even though I am going to be portraying this person, I definitely observe them from afar, and I get to know them as a stranger, and then I merge, the two, my emotional sense with their kind of physical characteristics that I have already put in place. And it wasn't ever really a conscious, I never thought, okay, this is going to be my approach to acting. It just felt natural, and it felt like, rather than trying to pretend, or some people get into the body of the character, and everybody's approach is different, but it just felt the most natural to observe them and to kind of watch them as a third person, and it wasn't ever a conscious thing. But yeah, that's how I've always approached acting and character work. And I actually had that same thought. Yeah. When I learned that synesthesia was a thing, I thought, oh, well, that makes sense that I would be so visual in my preparation.
And I would argue that it's actually to your benefit, and unlike another actor who doesn't have synesthesia doing that where it would seem detached, there is already a complete connection and bonding for you between that external vision and what's going on internally, that it's the same thing as immersion, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think so. It's almost, I almost describe it as reading a book. When you read a novel and you're very immersed in the story, and then you see these characters, and you get to know them, you feel like they're a part of your life. And for me, that's the best way to immerse myself in, a character, because you get in their world and you get to be a part of it. And it's interesting because when I've tried to have this conversation with people that do have synesthesia, because I started seeking people out, I was very interested. But most people...
Is there a meetup for that?
I'm going to start one in Los Angeles chapter. No, but most people have the chromesthesia.
Right. That's a popular one. That's the in one.
Right, yeah, that's the cool one, apparently. But I did find out my favorite singer of all time, and I'm going to totally out myself as a nerd, Billy Joel. Oh my God, we're going to get along. He has that. Is it? Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh, I love him. We're going to have a lot to talk about. But he has that. I'm a nerd, I'm telling you. But he has it, and I was very excited to learn that, because, here I've heard him describe associating colors with different keys, and I think you're right, musicians, that tends to be common.
So going back to your mom, who is not genetically blessed. Sorry.
Bless her. God bless her.
But she was also an actress. She was in the theater world, correct?
She was, yeah. She minored in drama, and she always laughs because somehow, somewhere along the way, I did an interview, and somebody asked why I got into acting. And I said, one of the first memories I have of wanting to be an actor was watching my mom do that play, You Can't Take It With You. And she completely transformed. She became a totally different person. She's a great performer. But, she just minored in drama, and she just did community plays, and it wasn't any big deal. But somehow that interview, it turned into, my mom was this great theater actress. So she laughed really hard. She said, yeah, I have several friends come up to me and say, I didn't know that you were on Broadway or whatever. It's turned into this thing that my mom's so it is kind of funny. But yeah, she is not blessed with the spatial synesthesia.
Have you ever tried talking to her about an approach, how that differs between the two of you?
She was fascinated when she found out that I had it and she didn't. And so she asked all sorts of questions. My mom is, we like to call her Barbara Walters, because she will ask you every question. She's very interested in people, and she loves to ask questions.
Will she make you cry?
No,
Okay.
not yet. Maybe when I was a kid, but no, she's very interested. So when she found out that she didn't have it, I think that she felt maybe a little bit like left out, that my dad had it and my sisters had it. And so she was trying so hard to understand it. She couldn't even wrap her brain around it. So she asked me a million questions and still didn't quite get it.
Is that not with your mom, but is that frustrating to not be able to explain it?
It makes me feel kind of like a freak. Like, it makes me feel like, you know, I guess more so before I knew that it had a technical name. But yeah, it made me feel kind of like, gosh, I'm kind of, you know, this weird person that just processes things in such a weird way. But it's not frustrating. I kind of like to get people's reaction when they're like, what? This is, huh? So it doesn't really make, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, just cooler. Just makes you cooler.
Yeah. Apparently it makes me much cooler with Warren.
But if you've had that feeling, which I have to imagine on some level, like there would be, I don't mean this in a bad way, like some element of freakishness in that, like you are, because it does make you different, right?
Definitely. Well, and especially when you've lived a good chunk of your life thinking that everybody did that.
Right.
And, you know, to find out that you are in a very unique category, it makes you feel a little bit like,
So earlier you said that you seek out like people. How the hell do you do that? Do you like on set mutter, Wednesday it's an orange trapezoid? See if anybody responds? What do you do?
Yeah, and I've gotten kicked off several sets doing it. No, it's funny though. Just like last week, I had a girlfriend post on Facebook. She said something about, I want to know about synesthesia. Do you have it? I want to talk to you about it. And knowing that most people have the color association, I thought she's not going to want to talk to me because it's not the fun, interesting one. So I just replied and I said, well, I actually have spatial synesthesia. You know, not as cool or whatever. And she replied to me, that's what I have. And I'm dying to talk to people that have that kind because everybody else is always, you know, the chromesthesia. And so we're going to sit down and have a beer and talk about it. She's like, I want to pick your brain. And I'm like, that sounds great. I would love to, you know.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, to be honest, she's the first person that I've actually reached out to, you know, and talked to about it that had the same type. So that was very rewarding.
I now fear there are going to be people who fake it just to try to get to know you. You know, Lindsay, I have spatial temporal synesthesia.
Well, you know what's so funny about that is my mom, she said, okay, well, we're going to do a test. Right. You're going to give me a graph of like how you know, look at the days of the week and the months, and I'm going to test you in like a couple years and see if it's the exact same. Because she didn't believe that I was doing, I know. Telling you, my mom is...
Thanks, Mom. Yeah. Thanks for the faith.
No, it was more of a game, like
right.
to see
if it
yeah. She wasn't being mean, I promise. But that is a good way to do it, is to see if somebody is faking it, because I think, as far as I know, it doesn't change over, you know, the course of your life. It's pretty much stays the same patterns. Although I will say that the older I get, the more my perception changes on it. So like the month, rather than looking forward and seeing all of it in the horizon, I'm kind of hovering over. I hover over it, like it's more present day as opposed to looking forward to something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like when you're a kid, I feel like you can't wait for Christmas, or you can't wait for summer vacation, or you can't wait for recess, or whatever it is that you're always looking forward to getting somewhere. And I feel like, you know, as I get older, I'm processing things quicker and things are happening faster. And so the only way I can describe it is I'm hovering over it as opposed to looking out on the horizon of it. And I wonder if, you know, when I'm 90, if it'll be behind me. Yeah, like in my rear view mirror. Yeah.
Can't even see.
Where did you go Wednesday?
Have to become an owl or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But so 2 possible thoughts here. Tell me which makes more sense.
Yeah.
There's the concept of future shock, where the older we get, the time represents a smaller and smaller fraction of our lives, thus things get faster and then potentially physically closer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or the other is maybe you're just living more in the now, and so that you're more grounded. And I'm just taking a shot in the dark, but
right. No, that's a good interesting point. But I feel for me, I feel like I am processing things faster and time is going by faster. That's what I feel like that's kind of what's happening. But
even professionally, knowing you, like, there's a time, like anybody would when they're younger, that your career is out here on the horizon and you're moving towards it. And you are now smack dab in the center of your career, right?
Yeah, definitely. No, I think
you're
that
only going up.
Yeah,
but,
right.
But you're right there.
Right. No, that's true. That is true. And yeah, being grounded in that and feeling comfortable in that, and the clarity and the ease of knowing that I'm in it. That's a good point. It's really interesting. It could be both of those.
I've known you a while, even though you're just 24. I somehow have known you for quite a while. But what's amazing is that you never struck me as having the anxious, desperate, sorry quality that some actors do. But you've definitely come into yourself in a different way.
Yeah.
You seem really at peace.
Yeah. I must have masked it well, because there's a huge amount of anxiety that comes with being an actor and wanting to succeed. But yeah, I always kind of felt, I always kind of had this feeling of, I love what I do and it feels good doing it, so I'm going to continue doing it. And there's nothing like not making it, quote unquote, making it. I'll do it for the rest of my life, whether I'm making tons of money or not. That's always been my mentality. So I think that is maybe why I have eased into it. But I never had those feelings of like, oh my gosh, I got to get it done by, this certain age. And which is interesting, because a lot of women in this business, it's like, I remember a good friend who, I won't name names, but I remember he said to me, when I turned 30, he said, oh, you got a good 5-10 years left. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? Like, thanks, buddy.
Wow.
Yeah, but
that was a friend and a film person?
Yes,
Wow.
one of the same. He was a good producer buddy of mine, and I was like, wow. I know, but I think that there is that ageism that happens in Hollywood, and it won't affect me. I will continue working, doing what I love to do. So
People say that, though, but would you be content doing community theater or something like that?
I think if it made me happy, yes. I mean, my biggest philosophy in life is if it feels good, do it. If I were to say tomorrow I'm going to quit, I'm going to move to Idaho or back to, Salt Lake City and do community theater, I wouldn't be happy. So I wouldn't allow myself to do that.
Right.
But hey, if I got to a place in my life where I was like, you know what? I really want to go, chill out and go to Idaho or go to Montana and do community theater or teach a class or whatever, and it felt good, then I would totally do it. And it's all about what makes you feel good and what makes you happy. So.
Let's see, you are grounded now. Look at that. I've got some years on you. I don't have that. I sort of want to. I'm just having a vision of a movie put together with all people who have synesthesia somehow, putting together and like an all-star cast and crew.
It'd be amazing. Do they all have to have synesthesia?
Yeah, they all have.
Okay.
Everybody has to have it. To have something.
It's not just characters that have it. We're talking
No.
the cast, the crew,
Yeah.
everybody.
Right.
And are we making a movie about synesthesia, or are we just making?
No, I don't think we have to be about synesthesia. I just want to see what that would look like.
Like a group of synesthesiacs getting together,
Right.
making a film. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a hard time finding them.
Well, I have one. My friend Casey, who also has spatial synesthesia. She's an actress. Yeah.
She's an actress.
Yeah.
Okay, we got two. We got two.
We'll get in
Hollywood
touch.
loves movies with more than two women in it. So.
It's true. Oh yeah.
Billy Joel could score it.
Billy Joel could score it, and
Lots of
Jeffrey
musicians.
Rush could,
Jeffrey
he
Rush,
could be a
that's
part
right.
of it as well. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, then we just need
Yeah.
a director.
Yeah. Oh my. Well,
There's
we can
gotta
do
be-
this.
there's gotta be one.
When there's a will, there's a way. Yeah.
Okay, this one is for the normative folks at home. Those who don't have it, don't know it, don't get synesthesia. Got to break it down for us. So I say you got to come in for an audition next Wednesday at 11. What happens in your head beyond audition?
What's funny is I immediately visualize the day of the week, so if it's Wednesday at 11, it's, it's a square that's center of a line of squares. It's right in the center. And I picture the time. I mean, it's so hard to explain.
Clearly I'm getting from that the line runs Sunday through Saturday. Is that
Yeah,
the week?
so it goes, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's almost like a stepping.
Oh, it is. I see. Okay.
It's like
gotcha.
Step
so
of.
I get that. So it is like a little step up. It's a step and repeat thing going.
And it goes
forward.
for infinity. Like
infinity.
It just doesn't ever. It's just. It goes on and on and on.
God,
it's the
I hope
same
so,
pattern.
Because what if you get to like some point where you stop seeing the rest of the stairs?
I guess I die. I don't know.
One time, I know this is off topic. Don't hate me for this. I used to read palms, and
Did you really?
yeah, and
God, this is fascinating.
and I read the palm of this young Turkish woman, and all of her lines stopped. Like the middle of her palm was sort of blank, and all the lines indicated that she wasn't going to live long. She disappeared like 3 days later, never to be discovered again.
Are you serious?
Like went to her place, her stuff was still there. Nobody ever found her. Freaked me out so bad, never touched it again. So
Well,
I automatically go to, what did the stairs stop?
right. They never stop. But I'm fascinated now.
Yeah.
I have a straight line that does
Whoa.
not stop on my palm.
Holy moly!
What does that mean? I only want on one side.
Are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right.
Oh, let me see the left hand. That's actually a positive sign.
Is
Because your
it?
right hand is what your dominant hand is what you're doing with your life and indicates what you're doing. The non-dominant hand is what your potential was, where you were sort of headed.
Ah.
So you've actually you've made changes.
Wow.
But that's a very unusual
I've never met anybody else.
scenario. That's right. So don't take it the wrong way. You are a freak.
Yeah. I am officially a freak. Maybe that's why, it just keeps going on for infinity, because the line in my hand just never stops.
It never stops. That's not the lifeline, sadly, but it's
Yeah,
okay.
I know. I've heard that before.
But all the other things point to it. Actually,
Yeah.
do that thing too, and like get the kids' version of counting your years.
Sorry, off topic.
I'm sorry, it was so off topic.
Oh,
and we were
I liked it.
Liked it?
Palms.
Okay.
Let's read everybody's palms.
Okay, so the steps keep going up.
Yeah, and so the calendar year for me is an oval. It's a perfect oval, which I've looking online and reading about this. A lot of times the calendar year for spatial synesthesia is in an oval, and so it starts. January is at the top, and then February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, and then inside each of those, inside the oval are 12 squares. And inside the 12 squares are, 30 or 31, 28 days in squares. And I immediately go to that image in my brain when I'm thinking about May. I go to that square. I don't know how to explain it.
So what's interesting is that the steps for the days are linear, but the months and the calendar are elliptical, for lack of a better word, right?
Yes.
They come back on themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you seen the movie Arrival?
I have not seen it yet.
You have
I'm
not
dying
seen it?
to see it.
Because there's a fascinating, they're not giving anything away really, there's the idea of things that are causal and then things that are teleological. So we think of time as linear, we think of events as causal. This happened, then this thing happens, but teleologically, things already exist. Things are already out there. Time is more like that oval.
Right.
Right?
Interesting. And yeah.
And so that events that seem disparate and distant to non-synesthetes, I would imagine would be more easily embraced as having a uniform whole.
Yes.
That
No,
makes sense.
that makes total sense. And when I think about significant things that happen in my life, I immediately go to, in that oval, I go to that square. It is very precise to where that event happened, and it goes to the date, to everything. So that would make total sense that, having those life events or having, significant things that happen, I have a very specific place in that oval.
So do you think, I mean, this is weird, but do you think, since you can see time anyway in that fashion, do you think you could look forward in time in some way? Do you feel like you have any, not psychic abilities, but some sense of what's coming?
I actually do have a little bit of psychic abilities where I I will know somebody's about to call me, and I pick up the phone or I see that they're calling me 15 seconds before it happens. Or I've been in car accidents where I saw it happening. I knew I was going to be in a car accident and happened, a minute later. Or, there's definitely been things that I've thought about or felt and known that it was going to happen. Or songs coming on the radio, that's a big one. I shuffle my music on my iTunes or whatever, and so often I will predict, I know what song is coming next. And it happens on a fairly regular basis.
Maybe you have the same logarithm as Apple does. Yeah. Planted in your brain.
Well, given it is all Billy Joel, so
your odds go up.
I'm like, it's either going to be 52nd Street or, no. Not really, guys. I'm not that big of a...
Can I see your hands again for a second? I know now we're going weird. Is it okay to feel your knuckles for a second? I'll do this hand. Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay. It's a little bit of the idea, those who have slightly
bigger
prescient abilities, let's put it that way, generally have sort of tapered fingers, and the knuckles don't jut out much, thus freeing you to be attuned, in touch with the world around you. Those who have blockier knuckles and sort of stockier, thicker fingers are not.
Interesting.
There you go. There's a little tip of the day there.
That is.
That means absolutely nothing.
I think we need to do another conversation talking about palm reading.
Okay, why don't you host the show?
I'm not nearly good at that as you are. You're really good at what you do.
Thank you. You're very kind. Very kind. Well, I will say, I'm so fascinated by it. I am so happy that you talked about it and that you outed yourself, essentially.
Yeah, I know. Well, when you gave me the reaction you did, I was like, oh, he's open to it, and he actually knows what that is. I was very, you kind of have to feel comfortable, because you start talking about it to people that are like, not interested or don't actually believe that happens. Right. Then it gets a little bit, you feel vulnerable, and you start to, it's kind of, you're sharing, so I was very happy to hear that you knew what it was.
And it's just delightful to me, because it's one of those things, as you know from explaining it, I can read, right. But it's not the same at that's it. Thank you.
I could, like I said, I could take a piece of paper. It would have to be a giant piece of paper, but I could show you the patterns. I could draw out the patterns and show you. Right. One thing that's very interesting is that I do the alphabet as well, and it's the only one out of all of my patterns that is completely abstract, that doesn't have a specific structure to it. It kind of weaves around in this weird wave and then ends up with this, it's almost like an S with an extra loop on it. It just kind of goes in this weird hook almost, and it's the only one that doesn't have a Tetris-like pattern to it. So, yeah, I don't know what that means, and it's the alphabet, which is not, numbers, it's letters, so maybe that's, I don't know.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
New episodes of The High Bar come out every Thursday. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts. For more information, visit our website, thehighbar.tv. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, where you can find us at The High Bar. And on Instagram, we're at thehighbar.tv. If you like what we're doing, we'd love it if you'd take some time to review us on iTunes. It really would go a long way. The show is produced by Tina Knoll and Large Media. Our editor is Warren Langford. Our production assistant is Sarah Leibovitz. Our theme music was composed by Ralph Kent. And I am your host, Warren Etheredge.